He was the prodigy of Wall Street, the geek hero in shorts and a t-shirt who promised to revolutionize the financial world. Billions of dollars poured into his company, FTX. But what if this whole empire was just a house of cards? What if it didn't just crumble, but exploded in a spectacular 48-hour meltdown? On November 10, 2022, this 30-year-old genius was exposed in what might be the biggest digital market fraud since Madoff. It all started with a single, devastating announcement from his biggest rival, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao. A simple decision to sell assets triggered a digital bank run of epic proportions. Trust evaporated overnight, and over $8 billion in client funds simply vanished. The FTX lightning collapse forever changed how we see security and regulation in the digital world, marking a day in history we'll never forget. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more stories like this. That date wasn't just another day on the financial calendar. It was the day that trust, the invisible currency holding the entire crypto market together, evaporated. In a matter of hours, FTX, the exchange once valued at $32 billion, was hurtling towards insolvency. Hundreds of thousands of investors raced to withdraw. Withdrawal requests hit nearly $5 billion in just 72 hours. The already tense market spiraled into total panic. The promise of decentralization and financial freedom heralded by Bitcoin was swallowed by a single figure. Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, the 30-year-old prodigy, dressed in a t-shirt and shorts, who seemed the antithesis of Wall Street. But what the world did not know is that behind the facade of a messy genius and an altruistic donor, SBF was secretly diverting billions of client funds, to finance high-risk gambles through his sister company, Alameda Research. This wasn't a market error. It was a fraud of historical proportions, an $8 billion black hole. How did a single weekend reveal that the most trusted figure in the new digital economy was, in reality, the greatest thief? That staggering $8 billion didn't just vanish into thin air, it disappeared into the digital ether, the smoking crater of broken trust. To understand the scale of the theft, we must first appreciate the persona. Sam Bankman-Fried, the self-proclaimed effective altruist, the FTX CEO who routinely testified before Congress, the man with the messy hair and the seemingly naive disposition. He was the media's darling, the digital economy's white knight, valued at $32 billion, spending millions on stadium rights and political donations, a global campaign designed to mask a financial house built on sand. For years, SBF's company, FTX, operated with a dangerously close, unspoken relationship with his crypto hedge fund, Alameda Research. This internal arrangement was the ticking clock. The mechanism of collapse began quietly, with a single, devastating journalistic leak on November 2, 2022. The crypto news outlet CoinDesk published Alameda Research's balance sheet. What the world saw was not a diversified, secure portfolio, but a staggering stack of FTX's own proprietary token, created out of thin air. Alameda wasn't secured by dollars or stable assets. It was secured by assets FTX controlled, a circular financing scheme that was unsustainable. This revelation was the signal. But the executioner was Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of rival exchange Binance, known as CZ. On November 6th, CZ announced Binance would liquidate all of its remaining FTT holdings, an estimated $580 million worth. In the hyper-connected, high-leverage world of crypto, this was not a simple sale. It was a public declaration of no confidence. It was the spark dropped into the powder keg. The market reacted instantly. Like a classic bank run, customers, retail, and institutional alike, rushed for the exit. They demanded their funds back. In just 72 hours, roughly $6 billion in withdrawal requests flooded FTX's servers. The speed was terrifying, the equivalent of a major Wall Street bank collapsing in a single weekend. Bankman-Fried, desperate, issued reassuring tweets, insisting FTX was solvent and that its assets were fine. But the system was already frozen. By November 8th, withdrawals stopped. The exchange was functionally insolvent, unable to meet client demand because those client funds were never there. They had been secretly funneled, systematically and illegally, to cover Alameda's disastrous trading losses. The promise that FTX kept all customer assets 1.1 was a lie. The $8 billion gap was not a technical glitch. It was the measure of the fraud. On November 10th, the savior of crypto became the biggest failure. SBF resigned. The next day, FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The third largest crypto exchange in the world, with a valuation higher than major airlines, dissolved in a little over 100 hours. The question now moves beyond simply what happened to a more unsettling realization. How did one person, Sam Bankman-Fried, manage to execute a fraud of this colossal magnitude, diverting client assets so brazenly right under the noses of investors, regulators, and the global financial elite? The answer lay not in the complexity of the blockchain, but in the oldest of human frailties: arrogance, hubris, and unchecked greed. Sam Bankman-Fried, the self-proclaimed effective altruist, had brilliantly crafted an illusion. He cultivated an image of the benevolent, slightly awkward genius, always in a t-shirt, who had cracked the code to making billions fast, all to supposedly give it away later. By early 2022, this narrative had propelled FTX to a staggering $32 billion valuation, attracting heavyweight investors like Sequoia Capital and SoftBank, who swallowed the regulatory risk wholesale, blinded by the promise of exponential growth. But behind the clean, futuristic facade of the FTX exchange was its shadow: Alameda Research, SBF's hedge fund. This was the engine room, the dark corner where the rules of accountability were ignored. The core mechanism of the fraud was shockingly simple, built upon a technological sleight of hand. While FTX claimed to hold customer assets securely, the very definition of a trusted exchange, it had allegedly coded a secret backdoor in its software. This loophole allowed Alameda to dip directly into FTX's client funds, effectively treating customer deposits as its own risk-free line of credit. It was the equivalent of a bank CEO funneling customer savings into his personal casino. SBF wasn't just gambling, he was pursuing influence. He aggressively inserted himself into the Washington, D.C. regulatory debate, lobbying to shape future crypto legislation. In the 2022 election cycle alone, SBF became the second largest individual donor to the Democratic Party, spending tens of millions of dollars to buy a seat at the table. This spending, along with massive, often disastrous high-risk investments by Alameda, required constant replenishment. The hole in the balance sheet deepened, reaching between $8 and $10 billion. This colossal internal debt bomb required only a spark to detonate. And that spark came in the form of SBF's great rival, Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, known simply as CZ. The tension between the two crypto titans was palpable, a modern-day Cold War waged over market dominance. The vulnerability lay in the FTT token, the native cryptocurrency issued by FTX. Alameda's balance sheet was dangerously bloated with FTT, an asset created and controlled by SBF himself, making it highly illiquid and susceptible to panic. In early November 2022, a devastating report revealed this precarious structure. CZ immediately saw the opening. On November 6, 2022, CZ fired the shot heard round the digital world. He announced via Twitter that Binance would liquidate its entire holdings of FTT. This wasn't just a market move, it was a declaration of war on SBF's carefully constructed empire. The floodgates opened. Traders, understanding that the primary asset backing Alameda's massive debts was now collapsing, initiated a catastrophic bank run on FTX. Trust, the single most valuable currency in crypto, evaporated in hours. The $32 billion titan began its vertical descent. The weekend that changed everything had arrived, and the man heralded as crypto's savior was about to be exposed as its chief destructor. The bomb had already been set. The only thing missing was the detonator. When CZ fired the fatal tweet announcing the liquidation of Binance's FTT holdings, the ground vanished beneath FTX's feet. What followed was not a slow decline, but the fastest, most brutal digital bank run in history. Over that catastrophic weekend in November 2022, nearly $6 billion was demanded by customers in just 72 hours. Sam Bankman-Fried, the man who had preached risk management and effective altruism, spent his final hours desperately seeking $8 billion in bailout funds, tweeting vague reassurances even as his empire crumbled. On November 11, 2022, FTX, valued at $32 billion just months prior, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It was not a technical failure of blockchain philosophy, it was a profound failure of human ethics. The scale of the fraud was staggering, confirming the market's worst fears. Investigators quickly uncovered the secret mechanism. Billions of customer funds were systematically diverted from FTX to Alameda Research, SBF's risk-heavy trading firm, effectively treating client accounts as a personal slush fund. The gap was monumental, estimated at $8.9 billion in missing funds. This wasn't innovation, it was textbook embezzlement on a colossal scale, instantly drawing comparisons not to crypto volatility, but to the colossal corporate frauds of the past, like Enron or the predatory Ponzi scheme run by Bernie Madoff, which targeted high-net-worth individuals. Here, the victims were everyday retail traders, retirees, and institutional investors across the globe. The immediate aftermath was widespread contagion. The fall of FTX erased billions from the overall crypto market capitalization and triggered the bankruptcy of other key players already strained by the 2022 downturn, including BlockFi and Voyager Digital. Trust, the most valuable commodity in finance, was annihilated. For many, SBF's betrayal confirmed the deepest skepticism about the entire digital asset space. How could a market built on the promise of decentralization be brought down by the centralization of power in the hands of a single, highly fraudulent CEO? This is the ultimate bitter plot twist. The ecosystem that promised to remove the need for trusted intermediaries had inadvertently created a new intermediary more dangerously centralized and opaque than any traditional bank. The collapse proved that even the veneer of altruism and genius could mask fundamental theft. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas barely a month later, eventually convicted on 7 counts of fraud, facing decades in prison. His carefully constructed image as the crypto savior was replaced by the reality of a financial criminal. The legacy of that weekend is regulatory urgency globally, but also a renewed, purist focus on self-custody and truly decentralized finance. The event that caused the greatest centralized market collapse ultimately served as a painful, expensive lesson. The only way to be truly secure in a trustless ecosystem is to trust no one, especially not the central figure who promises to save the day. If the weekend that culminated in FTX's bankruptcy filing was defined by absolute panic, the aftermath revealed the true, shocking scale of the catastrophe. This was not merely a case of a poorly managed company, it was an $8 billion hole. Customer funds systematically diverted to feed the ambitious and unsustainable trading desk of Alameda Research. Sam Bankman-Fried, the industry's supposed savior, wearing his signature t-shirt and shorts, was in reality the largest fraudster in modern Wall Street history, sentenced to 25 years in prison. The weekend that created the greatest crypto collapse in history was far more than just a financial event. It was the ultimate exposure of the market's oldest lesson: blind trust is the vector of fraud. While Bitcoin's promise was, don't trust, verify, millions of users placed their faith and their capital into one single centralized figure. Today, the market attempts to rebuild itself under the watchful eyes of regulators, but the scar remains. The FTX collapse didn't just decimate fortunes, it destroyed naivety, forcing a painful reevaluation of what security and decentralization truly mean. This was just one of the days that shaped our world. Tomorrow, we will publish another landmark historical event. To ensure you don't miss it, subscribe now to The Day That Changed Everything and activate notifications. What other day would you like to see featured here? Comment below.